This week, Paul and I interview Johnny Xmas, Director of Field Engineering with the Australian firm Caseta. In the news, millions of passengers are affected by yet another airline hack. Exploit in WebEx leads to system-level privileges. And engineers test in production by turning it off and back on again. Stay tuned for all that and more on this episode of Application Security Weekly.
This is a Security Weekly production. Layered Insight is the industry's first embedded security approach for containers. Trusted by Global 1000 enterprises to secure their containerized applications, it's the only solution that requires no root privileges, has zero dependency on the underlying infrastructure, and is fully portable across any container environment. Unify DevOps and SecOps, enabling the rapid development of containerized applications without worrying about security. To learn more, please visit layeredinsight.com/ASW. Rapid7 powers the practice of SecOps. Using shared data, analytics, and automated workflows, SecOps unites IT, DevOps, and security teams to make security an outcome of innovation. Rapid7 combines technology, expertise, and advocacy to drive vulnerability management, application security, incident detection, and log management for more than 7,000 organizations worldwide. Power up your SecOps practice with a free trial at rapid7.com/securityweekly.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 37, our 38th episode of Application Security Weekly. I am, of course, your returning host, Keith Hoodlet, and I'm excited to be joined once again by my illustrious co-host, Paul Asadori. Paul, what's going on, dude?
I'm feeling illustrious now since you called me that. Thank you for
every
that.
Week.
Every
week, Paul. Every week. You're always illustrious to me, man.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Couple of quick announcements, by the way. So first, I wanted to give a special shout out and thank you to Julian Burton and Pamela O'Shea from the OWASP Melbourne chapter. AppSec Day Melbourne, or AppSec Day Australia, that I spoke at a couple weeks ago was awesome. So thank you both and the entire volunteer team over there for an incredible conference experience. In addition, of course, check out our on-demand material. Some of our previously recorded podcasts webcasts, all of our podcasts are recorded as well, are now available on demand at securityweekly.com/on-demand. So go check that out. We got some really great content on there from Black Hills, Signal Sciences, StealthBits, Javelin Networks, domain tools, of course, Logarithm, Endgame, and more. So go enjoy some of that as well in your free time. With that, I want to turn things over, of course, to our interview today. We have Johnny Xmas, a predominant, as he likes to say, thought leader, which is funny and interesting. As a leader.
Predominant.
In the US,
predominant.
I can't believe you said that.
Leader, predominant. So, of course, you know, he's a thought leader in the US and European information security community, mostly known, of course, or jumped onto the scene big with the TSA master key leaks back in 2014 or between 2014 and 2018.
Gosh, that feels like so long ago now.
I know, right? It's like, gosh, it's almost 2019 at this point, Johnny. We got to up this up a little bit here. But other than that, you're now director of field engineering with, is it Caseta or Casada? Am I pronouncing
Casada, just like the cigar company.
Yes,
Quesada,
but
less
with a K.
Spanish.
It's a little more Russian with the K, not the Spanish K.
Yeah.
You don't want people saying that around your company.
Got it. Well, it's Casada.io for those listening. Of course, you're there to provide unprecedented defense against the automated abuse of web infrastructure. You've previously held a consultant or a lead consultant role at Uptake, there for industrial cybersecurity platform. And spent many years in the penetration testing world as well. Johnny Xmas, welcome to the show, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Now, wait, is it Johnny Xmas or Johnny Christmas? Because everyone says to me, you should have Johnny Christmas on the show.
I gave you guys one chance to not screw it up, and
we did or did not?
Actually, it's not possible to screw up.
Okay.
So
either way is acceptable.
Yeah, I don't care. That's what's funny is I really don't care. I say Christmas. A lot of other people say Xmas because I write it with the X, and that's how they see it. And I don't mind either way. And what's funny is...
Wait, is that your legal... Did you change your name? I always thought of it as a handle. But
it's a legal alias and a registered trademark.
Okay.
So there.
That's awesome. No, it's awesome.
So don't just go throwing it around. Yeah. What's funny is other people will fight about it. And I'll have someone come up to me and go, "Hey, man, this guy thinks your name is Johnny Christmas, like he says the whole word." And I go, "That's what I say.
Too.
That's what I say it is." And they go, "Oh, they don't know it's Xmas though." It's I don't know why you're making a big deal.
I feel like we needed some explanation for the name.
Oh, well, I'm glad we got that clarified.
Because it left me wondering for some time, and then I got to meet you, and you told me about it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I say Christmas. When I introduce myself, I say I'm Johnny Christmas. So I guess that's official because I get to declare it, but I also don't care.
Jeff Mann, so those of you who know Jeff Mann listening to the show, was like, I've been hanging out with Johnny Christmas. You totally have him on the show. I'm like, yeah, I've heard of him. We totally should. And since by affiliation, I was like, well, you were hanging out with Jeff Mann at a lot of different security events. I'm like, you must be a cigar smoker. Like, guilty by association.
In fact, every time you say Jeff Mann, you have to have a herf.
Jeff Mann, yes.
Enjoy the dead air as we...
That's right. No, that's awesome.
The funny part about all this, by the way, Johnny, is I was actually going out to your Hackfest Canada talk last year to confirm if it was Johnny Xmas or Johnny Christmas, and I think it was Patrick and introduced you as Johnny Xmas, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go with that." And so I've totally
screwed up. You got to get it from the horse's mouth. That's it.
Yeah.
Weren't you in the airport last year as well? And you stared at me for like 3 hours and then didn't say a word to me. Yeah, good work.
Well, you look like,
hey everyone, if you see me somewhere doing nothing, come say hi.
I got you beat though. When I was in the airport leaving DerbyCon, I heard someone calling my name, and I'm like, I'm just hearing things. Like, it's been a long conference.
Right.
It was Keith. I was like, oh, hey, what's
totally
up?
Snubbed Keith.
All right, now we've got your name squared away. Awkward moments at airport squared away.
Yeah.
I think we're done at this point. Okay. I mean, successful podcast.
Oh, I don't want to knock my drink over. This is cool.
It's always involving me at this point. It's like I'm always that guy. I've ran into April Wright at the airport at Heathrow in I don't know, May of this year, just randomly as well. And it took me a little while. Based on your feedback, actually, Johnny, from last year, when you're like, you should just go up and say hi to people. I actually did. So
yeah, good. Thank you. April's a great person to go say hi to as well. She's super fun. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's why I'm here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of Hackfest last year, where I was, creeping on you in Montreal airport because of delays for hours and hours before, I eventually said hi to you.
Yeah, we had like a 3-hour delay when we were on the same flight, and we were just sitting in this room for 3 hours, and he didn't say a word to me.
Well, at least you guys got into Canada, because that's...
Oh, yeah, that's its own
its own thing. Yep.
Canadian customs, surprisingly, the most, hands-down Gestapo customs I've come across globally. And I go to Asia a lot, and never anything like Canada.
Like, pretty much you have to say, I'm here to see your beautiful country. If you say anything other than that, you're detained.
Yeah.
If you're coming from the U.S.
And you have to say it like an American. You're like, I'm here to go and see the fort y'all got up in Quebec. Anything besides that, they get suspicious.
It's funny because the opposite side, because I had the same experience, Johnny, but the opposite side was going into Australia was like the fastest custom experience I've ever had. It was like, boom, I'm in.
Well, it's because you have to register in advance. You have to get that ETA, which is just it's auto approval, and you pay $20, and it's really just a way for them to get $20 out of you, and it's a fantastic scam.
I mean, if you're coming from the U.S. and Australia, they figured you've come that far, they're not going to deny you at that point.
No, you got to do it in advance.
Yeah, so you have to register in advance.
Right. So
you have to tell them you're coming.
It's literally a guy at the door going, "You got $20?
Yep.
Just give me $20. I'll let you in."
Sure. It's fair.
All right, here's $20.
It really does feel that way. The other thing as well is what's really funny about it is you can't have a criminal history of any kind to get into not Canada, excuse me, probably Canada too, but Australia. It's like, do you have a criminal background? Yes. You can't get into Australia, which is weird because it was a penal colony at one point.
Right. So, you don't know if that's like a factor of denial. Maybe they want that. All they do is just ask. They don't necessarily deny. They said, "Do you have a?" Maybe that gets you elevated privileges.
It gets you to a different part of Australia.
You get the VIP bar. Oh, you're one of us.
So,
wait. So Hackfest CA, you're speaking there.
Yes.
Yes.
What is your talk about?
My talk this year is on my tooling around with the Venmo public feed. As most everyone knows, Venmo hit the media over the summer with the realization that the public feed in their application is available to the public
Wait, that's the payment app? Venmo?
So Venmo, the payment app. It's a massively used payment app, especially amongst the youngsters, the millennials.
I have a question about that. So why Venmo and not PayPal, which lets you exchange money with no fees if you say it's for personal use? Am I still correct on that?
Yeah,
okay.
That's still correct. So Venmo, their whole feed system is really what catapulted them to being a competitor in the mobile payment space.
Like a feed. What describe feed?
It's they have a social media aspect to their payment system. So if you open the app, you get you have your personal feed, you have your friends feed, and then you have a public feed. And every new account has the public feed, has posting to the public feed enabled by default. And so, as you know, most of the general public doesn't change any of the default settings for anything that they use ever.
Now, a feed, if it's a payment app, it's like I can post publicly that I paid you $20 in exchange
and
for
you
some
can put
cigars.
put a little message in there. You put a little cigar emoji or an eggplant and a volcano or something in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then that goes into the public feed. And then so someone in Florida can see that Paul Asadorian paid Johnny Christmas for eggplant volcanoes. $20.
He wants eggplant volcanoes too, and asks you for eggplant volcanoes.
Right, and I can ask you for that, and then you can give me thumbs up emoji, and then transfer me $20, and everyone sees that. And that's terrifying because people are doing a lot more than just trivial things on there. There's a lot of utilities that accept payment via Venmo. There's a ton of retailers that accept payment via Venmo. I'm poking at my notes right here because I just happen to have it up. Who'd have thought? About 2 million retailers accept Venmo payments. And so people can see everywhere you're shopping. And that's one thing on its own as standalone statistics, but then you can piece together exactly what someone has done in a day or something that someone does regularly at regular times. You'd be able to find out where they're going to be at and when, take care of them that way. It can get tricky pretty fast. And it's general, all of the general OPSEC problems that come along with any other system where you're checking in or just kind of posting your location, except that people don't realize that you sort of are still posting your location, or at least you're posting your activity, you're posting who your friends are. One of the biggest problems with social media is that you can lock down your social media as tightly as you want, but all it takes is one friend who doesn't lock theirs down.
Yep, I see.
All of a sudden it's all become pointless.
And then I'm assuming do they charge you fees for transferring money, or does that depend on the use case?
No, they don't transfer your fees.
So you're the product, hence the public feed.
Right. They're making money off of the amount of money that they have in the bank, and they invest that. They're a bank, so just like PayPal does, just like anyone else, that's where they get their money. It's on that end. And like I said, to try and get a foothold in that mobile payment market, they use this social aspect to say, "Hey, look, it's fun."
Okay, I get it now.
And they've come out publicly like that's their stance on it.
Right.
Because asking if you owe me money, it's kind of awkward. They go, "Hey, Paul, what's up with that $20? It's been a week." But if I can do it with cute little cartoon emojis, you're going to give me an LOL and ship me $20, and then it's fun and funny, and we're friends.
I can't believe that's what it's come down to.
And that's what it is, and they're killing it.
I want my $5.
They're the first.
What movie is that? Where's the paper?
Oh,
I want my $5.
It's from the 80s. What is that?
What movie is that?
Better Off. No, is it Better Off Dead? Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. $2. $2 is the Paperboy. It's a great,
because that's awkward, right?
Right. The whole movie is based around that paperboy trying to get his $2.
If they had Venmo, it'd be really easy, short skit.
Newspaper emoji, bicycle, number 2. Kid would have been paid.
Right.
I mean, there's a whole nother chunk of the movie going on, but
but it's irrelevant at this point. That's the only part we remember.
Right. That stupid Paperboy. Yeah, it's the 4th most used mobile payment method in the U.S. It's crazy, and it's just like slightly behind. Here, what do you think like the top 4 are? Venmo. So 3 other mobile payment methods.
So I've always used PayPal.
Okay.
For that, because I'm old, and PayPal was our only option to send payments electronically.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to pay a fee, there's that whole like personal payment option where there was no fee associated.
Right.
So that's what we always.
PayPal's not even in the top 4.
Really?
Yeah.
What about like Apple Pay? Is Apple Pay in there?
Apple Pay is number 3. It's only number 3.
Android Pay? Can you send? You can't send, because you can't send. That's only for transactions in a retail sense.
I'm not familiar with it, but it would count because it is a mobile payment method.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've used Android Pay in the past, and then it magically stopped working.
Like the Google Pay, Google Wallet. Yeah, that's why it's not on the top. I think it's because interpersonal you can send it interpersonally that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a poorly marketed
Starbucks
Google service.
is in there, by the way.
What's that?
Starbucks is probably one of them for the mobile pay.
So Starbucks I kind of put under standalone apps, like apps where you can only pay one company with them. I group all those together, and so no, they're definitely in the top 10, but not in the top 4. So the other
really,
two,
even that grouping, because the grouping is kind of weird. Because like if I shop at 5 different places, I got 5 different apps that I got to manage to make. That's why I didn't like it.
Right.
I like just one app.
And so things like Starbucks, like definitely, I think Starbucks is 6 or 7, definitely up there. But the second most is just like straight up banking apps, you know, Chase or Zelle. You know, everyone's using Zelle now. Number 1, the number 1 mobile payment method in the U.S. is Facebook Messenger.
What?
Yeah.
What?
That blew my mind.
How is that?
Scares me.
Because you can make
fiercely.
payments directly.
Because they added that functionality a few years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
Well, because they make everyone install it as a separate app,
right?
And Facebook has over 1 billion users at this point.
Something like that.
I mean, they've lost some, but probably not enough to make a difference.
If we want to talk active users and things like that, it gets a little blurry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Venmo's number 4, which makes it, you know, a huge database of public information.
Wow.
And it's
so
just out there.
I've got to ask, based on the ranking, is it based on dollars transacted, number of transactions? Like, how did you rank them?
Oh, for that one, I did it based on it was a review, like a survey, just asking people, hey, which of these do you use? And more people said they used Facebook Messenger than anything else. And it was, and it allowed for multiple choices. And then it was like, which of these do you use the most? Second most, third most.
And what types of attacks have we seen against these ecosystems to this date?
Well, so back in 2017, it used to be super easy to just dump the whole public feed. And so this is any kind of...
So one vulnerability you're talking about is the public feed. And you dump it and you can glean analytics from that.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, there's also anything that applies to, you know, a web app or a mobile app, you know, that's your...
Sure.
Your groupings of attack, you know, account takeovers, things like that. If you got a bad password, that's the bottom line.
Yep.
Right now, Venmo does require 2FA with at least an SMS number, so that's cool. So that's really, I'd imagine, cut down on the amount of account takeovers there.
Sure.
The FTC has required them to register as a bank and go through all of the regular audits that banks have to, which includes penetration testing, security auditing. So you can see this massive jump in security and privacy enhancement between 2017 and 2018 with Venmo, which makes dumping, actually scraping the public feed now way more difficult than it used to be, which is cool, except I found an issue in there that I won't disclose here on the show yet that made it way easier.
To dump the public feed.
Right.
Even though there was measures in place, to prevent against that.
Right.
But what you believe stem from them having to register as a bank with the U.S. and as a result, increase security.
I'm guessing. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Either way.
Speculation, sure.
It could have been just a decision internal, which would be great as well.
I'd imagine they'd always have to be PCI compliant to a certain extent, or do they not? Because they don't.
I'm not familiar with the financial side and the processing side of Venmo.
Yeah, because that's weird.
Again,
like, are they a
speculating?
merchant? Are they a merchant or just a broker?
They're not
more like a bank.
They're a bank because all they do is transfer currency back and forth, but they also do hold currency for lengths of time.
Okay.
And they also, so they're a bank more than anything.
They're more than a merchant that would take your credit card and provide you with goods or services.
Right.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yep.
So now with the public feed, is that still by default on? Like, it's still a public feed, still on by default for the users. It was in the news for a blip, and I'm sure anybody that's getting it now doesn't know that actually happened, or is it even an issue? Yeah,
what's funny is it was in the news, even though it's been the case forever. And as soon as you use the app, it's very apparent that there's a public feed. As soon as you open it up, that's what you see is your feeds. They're right there. You can see your own stuff come up in this public feed. So it's not like a weird thing for Venmo users. So it was really weird that the media got hold of it and lost their minds over it. And it's like, well, yeah, that's how it works.
That's how it's supposed to work. Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to work. And of course, Venmo made public statements on the issue and said, yeah, that's by design. That's a huge part of our entire ecosystem. They did say, at least, if everyone wants us to get rid of it, we'll get rid of it. But as of right now, the feed is still public, and it's public by default. And that's super interesting to me, because especially now, like post Cambridge Analytica, the concept of public by default has been on people's minds. You have Facebook, who has just completely done a 180 on not only just public by default, but also the ability for so many things to post to your Facebook feed has been eliminated. And that was huge news. Facebook stock is plummeting by the hour. And yet Venmo comes out and says, no, we're gonna stick by original decision. This is how it's going to be, unless our user base votes with their dollar and stops using us, or everyone starts turning it off or something like that. Venmo has opted to keep public by default as their policy.
Now, when it came to scraping this, at least initially, was this something that could be done with just simple, GET requests, whether it was curl or otherwise? I mean, it sounds like it's more difficult now, but at least when this was initially discovered, even though it was, out there by default for a long time, how easy would it be to get the full data set, and how far back does that data set go?
I have seen massive studies going on for the 2017 year, and there are people who have reported being able to get upwards of 300 million transactions, 300 to 400 million, which would cover most of 2017, and that's insane. I could not find information from them on how they did it, because when I tried to do it, it was exceedingly hard, and it was taking me longer to get, say, a day's worth of transactions. It took me longer than 24 hours to get 24 hours worth of transactions.
Right.
And that's with...
by design, right? Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
that's with spinning up, multiple machines to do the scraping and doing a lot of shicey stuff to get around a lot of the throttling and security measures that are in place. Nobody had hosted that data that they claim to have scraped, even though you have people saying, I hope somebody else can find some interesting things in this data like I did, and then they don't post the data anywhere. And because
they don't want to get sued.
I couldn't find any evidence, hard evidence that anyone actually did the work. Not that I'm saying they did.
What's the most damaging thing you could do with the data for the users of Venmo?
I have personal safety concerns, tracking down,
tracking
and then extortion.
Mm-hmm.
Extortion's a big one. So exploitation via extortion. Mm-hmm. Those are my personal worries, and I think everyone would have their own personal worries. But I think that's the most damaging, is being an individual target of somebody based off of information that they have on you that maybe you didn't intend to be public. Just going through the data I was able to collect, it's drugs and hookers.
I was gonna say, how much does Venmo police what people are buying if it's illegal products and or services?
Well, initially none, and still none, because they can't necessarily decline transactions based on something you typed in the message. Other than what they just last month put out a terms of service update that says you're no longer allowed to make drug references within your transactions. Now that's really hard to detect, because the kids these days have their own lingo. I
mean, you can create a lingo on the fly.
Oh yeah,
as it applies to
and that's what'll just happen, because eggplants and volcanoes don't.
I was going to say eggplants and volcanoes is not just a random reference that you made, huh?
Right. And they'll make up. I mean, you've got the head massage emojis. You can, you can use whatever you want in there. And that was one of the things I discovered, was all this cryptic language people are using for drugs now. Diamonds means generally it's crack, meth, or cocaine.
Right.
People are using the old maple leaf icon to, we know what that means. Really interesting stuff. So the only things I've really been seeing get caught and immediately shut down are usage of the pill emoji.
Yeah.
But what if I'm just picking my drugs up from Walgreens? And
True.
Yeah, but you also don't have to leave any kind of message
emoji or message.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's all the fun of using it, and that's how they push it, and that's why everyone loves it. But yeah, it's really hard to police what people are buying with your stuff, because it's a person-to-person transaction. And so all they said is hey, stop telling people you're doing it, at least. That's the most they can do.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely seen that.
It's actually good for some industries that are legal but have come under certain scrutiny that make it difficult to do business with a bank.
Sure.
Give you an example. These fine cigars that you and I enjoy, and
this is
finally
a
together.
Great Carrillo,
cheers for that.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of tobacco retailers, if you're selling a tobacco product of any kind, your credit card transaction provider or your bank may decide to stop doing business with you. I ran into this with Stogie Geeks.
Yes.
We would actually, because of the name, we as Stogie Geeks are unable to take out ads on Facebook and unable to host our website in certain places that offer e-commerce, because their e-commerce says you cannot sell tobacco. Even though I'm licensed, if I were to be licensed in the state, I would have to do that to sell cigars out of Rhode Island, right? I would go get my license for that. and I would pay taxes on that, on those tobacco products, and I would be a registered, completely 100% legal. I would do the age verification as best I can. And even though I'm following all those laws, they may decide, hey, you know what, you can't do business with us to conduct those transactions.
Absolutely. Follow up to that. Chicago has a massive burlesque scene. I was a piercer in the Chicago region for a very long time. And as such...
that's not a euphemism.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
So but it was a natural progression from piercer into penetration tester.
I see that.
Here I am.
But I'm ching.
Yeah. Nerd jokes. So what's our demographic here? And so I because of that crossover, I have many friends who operate in the burlesque and then subsequently the kind of dominatrix BDSM realm.
Sure.
Neither of them involve nudity or sex or anything of that nature.
Breaking any laws.
Or breaking any laws. That's not prostitution. Many of them are registered businesses. And they regularly have to deal with this issue of having their accounts frozen.
Yes.
For, violating various, vice laws. And they're like, I'm not doing anything. This isn't prostitution. It doesn't meet any of the requirements. And yet, these banks can just declare that you've done something illegal and now freeze your assets, so you can't pay your rent, even though you've done nothing wrong. And so you get no due process. There's no trial.
Right, exactly.
You have to file a civil case against this private bank to get your funds unfrozen. Good luck, taking. I'll guarantee you, Venmo, PayPal, etc. have lawyers on retainer, whereas the average burlesque dancer doesn't have $500 to file a civil case. Yeah. Craziness.
All right. Keith, I don't know where else you want to go before we transition to the next segment, but.
Yeah. So, I have my traditional 5 questions, which I did not prep Johnny for, which ought to be fun. But before that, so you're actually giving this talk at Hackfest Canada. I know that you've been there since Hackfest Canada 7, I think.
7, I believe 7. Yeah, they keep asking me back, which is weird.
I really enjoyed your talk last year. I mean,
I have a blast there. It's definitely some my top 3 favorite conferences. I love Hackfest Canada. They got they're sold out this year, though. They're trying to figure out how to unsell out so that you can still buy more tickets and go and come see. Myself, Keith won't be going this year. They're hosting the Canada's first ever social engineering competition. So that's going to be really cool.
What was weird as well is I think that they were doing something related to social engineering last year. I don't know if it was a competition, but I remember it was all in French because it's in Quebec, so it's it's a French Canada. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on here, but it sounds like it's really exciting. So it's just kind of interesting sitting there in the room, listening to people and not.
Yeah, it is a fully bilingual conference. They're usually having trouble finding English-speaking presenters, which I think is really cool because it means you're getting a lot of the local French-speaking information security there to speak to the locals in their native language, which of course conveys information way better. However, they do get a lot of people from other parts of Canada and the world who don't speak French, and that's kind of a hindrance, and they want to make sure that those people also are getting their money's worth from the conference. So they really do put a lot of effort in making sure that they can get some entertaining and intelligent informational speakers that speak English up in there.
By French,
in the hotel there,
French Canadian,
awesome.
Which is French Canadian, which is different from
Quebecois.
Yes,
which is different from French.
I'm
sure
you've offended a lot of people, and you're going there. I'm just trying to cover your
these customs, man. They're gonna get me a customs again. They're gonna be like, "Oh, Johnny,
you said we speak French.
We do not speak. I love that. By the way, I'm going to call you out to the viewers. There is a full wet bar back here. Yeah. This is amazing. There's 16 different kinds of scotch just here.
And there's a urinal right in the middle.
Yeah. And I'm still just mixing up my fade in a 7-Eleven cup.
I've never been on set, which is the funniest thing. I mean, I'll be down there for the Christmas episode, but which is ironic because this is the Christmas episode too, sort of. So it's
the pre-Christmas Christmas episode.
This is the real Christmas episode.
Yeah. Indeed.
It's great. It's if you watch ESPN, it's like that. The studio's that big. There's that many people running around here. I was amazed at just the sheer amount of staffing that goes into.
Yet no makeup.
Yeah, and yet no makeup. I had to do my own makeup.
Doesn't need it. Johnny.
I just always have it on. You don't know.
That's it.
That's a trick to makeup, isn't it? People shouldn't know you're wearing it.
That's right. It's a trick to wearing women's lingerie too, I think. What?
What?
How did we?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I think we were doing 5 questions.
I have 5 questions. They mostly revolve around sizing, but.
So the first question
I'm going to go back
to
to this
ask,
phallic
not
object
quite
while you...
but it's close, Johnny, is what were the specs like on your first computer?
Define first computer. The first one that I had in my house to use on my own.
Or stole. I mean, you know.
The first one I ever had in my own home was a Trash 80, but I had it way beyond the time that a Trash 80 was useful. Somebody had, and in fact, it was a loaner. Someone had given it to us so I could write reports for school on it, but it was like, it didn't have a word processor on it. Like I had to figure out, go find a word processor written in BASIC that would run on a TRS 80. After that, someone, I think an uncle, had given me a 486 DX. So it was an Intel 486 DX CPU, which had the built-in math coprocessor, which was a huge deal.
Lightning fast.
Yeah. Yeah, lightning fast. No, in fact, it was still pretty old at the time.
Still pretty slow. Now that I think
we didn't have a lot of money in the Christmas house.
You could get Doom to run on a 486.
Actually, to get Doom to run, this is what I did. It's funny you brought it up. I had to go down to the local computer shop, which was still like a hole in the wall, like some computer nerd selling computer hardware, because there was no Best Buy wasn't selling computer stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went in, and my video card didn't have enough video RAM to run Doom, and so I had to buy some video RAM. This was back when you'd get a video card and it had empty sockets on it, and so you'd buy a couple of RAM chips and pop them in to get the screen resolution and the color depth you were looking for. So that's like the specs on my computer varied in the amount of VRAM it had. That's how old that computer was.
Nice.
I want to say I think I got it up to 16 megs of RAM. Those were fast page RAM. So definitely predates SD-RAM. It had a 500 megabyte hard drive. I definitely remember that. It was a 512 meg hard drive that I filled up pretty damn fast. And what are you going to do? So it was just constantly storing everything on floppy disks, which turns out don't have too long of a lifespan, and so you're just constantly getting corrupted and lost files because everything you own has to be on these like magnetic floppies, and they sit in this box and just rub against each other, and nothing good comes of that. So those were the horrible dark days. Those were bad times, and I don't recommend it.
A little bit later for me, I actually had
because you're like 24.
Not quite. Like almost 33, almost.
Okay, so 32 and a half, 32 and 3/4. Is that what we're doing?
We're a little bit of that, yes. So my next question though is, what programming language did you learn first? It sounds like it was BASIC, but did you learn any others in the process of getting your computers to run?
Various forms of BASIC, and then let's see, what was the one? It's probably still BASIC. The one with the turtle where you can make it draw the lines to make pictures. It was like a graphical BASIC.
Visual Basic?
No, way before Visual Basic. This was, people who know it will know it, because it had a little triangle and it called it the turtle, and you would just be like 10, go to, you would just give it coordinates and it would move this turtle around the screen and draw a picture. I don't remember the name of it anymore. That was one of the first ones I learned, and you got to remember I'm in 2nd, 3rd grade at the time. I mean, the first program I ever wrote, I was 6, and I had a Magnavox Odyssey 2. So let's count that as a first computer because it had a keyboard on it. It was a cartridge-based video game system. Came out in 79 or 80, I think, or 80. No, I think the Magnavox Odyssey 2 came out in 89 or 82, and because people weren't like sold on the idea of like video games in the house yet, they had to also make it a computer because people were sold on that idea for some reason.
Right.
Even though both were awful. And this is trying to compete with like Atari and things like that. So anyway, it had a computer programming cartridge, and it came with a big manual. And I fumbled through this as much as a 6-year-old can do. And I wrote a little "Hello World" like a 3-liner, and I made the TV say some bad words, and it blew my mind. And I remember going to the kitchen and getting my mom to show her that I can make the TV do whatever I want. And she was like, she was less pleased with the outcome than I was. But like that, all right. So that whatever that language was, and it was a form of BASIC. It was it was print and then some words and go to 10 stuff like that. So it was some form of BASIC.
Nice.
But then after that, there was some like we learned Pascal and Turbo Pascal in like 6th and 7th grade, and then Visual Basic was big after that.
I think your Turtle logo programming language is called Logo.
Logo. That's what it was. Yes. Yep. Logo.
Sorry, carry on, Keith.
No, that predates me.
Good work. That's why we have the research staff. That's really cool. That's really
I learned
cool.
a bit of BASIC when ironically, I think it was in high school that they were teaching BASIC, which was weird.
So just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago, in fact. So the next question, dragging you into the holy war here, Vim or Emacs?
I've been using Emacs for almost 30 years now, primarily because I don't know how to exit it. So
well, hey, that settles that.
I don't prefer it. That's just what's going on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's right here. It's horrible.
The best answer
It
ever.
persists through.
I'm not kidding. There it goes. It's brand new Mac. It's still running Emacs.
So I got to ask then, while you're stuck in Emacs, spaces or tabs?
What's that? Spaces or tabs? Oh, tabs. Tabs. I'll fight you.
Well, okay.
Tabs all day. Let's fight.
Last question.
It's more efficient. It's less keystrokes.
So fair. I always do 4 spaces as a tab is usually the way I run it. But hey, and whatever goes, right? I always hit the tab key and now we're fighting.
Now you're just trying to make everyone happy, and nobody wins when you do that.
I mean, my code seems to be fine. My code wins. It compiles.
I've written a lot of awful crap that runs, Keith.
Fair. Hey, we're going to have a few of those in the news segment, so hold on to that thought.
I'm going to have a few at Hackfest Canada.
Last question before we break for the news is who would you nominate, or what topic would you like to see us cover on a future episode of Application Security Weekly?
Oh, I would love to see, I have an answer for both, and it's the same thing. I would love to see you guys talk more about industrial security / SCADA security, because I feel like that's such a tiny niche market that everyone mentions and sees come across their feed, but really has only a iota of concept of what SCADA is and how SCADA is different from industrial communications. I gave a talk on it at RSA back in April, and I just did a SCADA 101 talk, like, here's what this means, and here are the security implications. And the room was packed. And we had so many people coming up afterwards saying, thank you for doing that. That was all the clarification I needed. I see all these words getting thrown around. I have no idea what any of it means and what I have to do about it. Thanks for at least giving me this like 101 glossary terms, contextual information. And so now that it's all in the news and we're constantly seeing these power companies getting hacked through various means, I would love to see you have someone come on and talk about that more in depth. And for that, I would nominate Kate Vita, Kato, she's Vicat on Twitter. She spent years in an industrial security space working for an energy supplier. She would be a great person to talk to about that. She is currently penetration tester at Secure Ideas. She also does some of my favorite user awareness training, because she trains people on personal security, which then translates very well to your work security. And she's super passionate about it, and she's incredibly positive, which is a very difficult thing to find in our community. So I'd love to see her on the show. Hit her up.
Awesome. Absolutely will.
Cool.
With that, we're going to take a short break and then come back for the news.